Episode 2 of He Used Her for Money Rituals. It was 2 years after F had escaped death in the hands of the man she once called love. She had rebuilt her life, become stronger, wiser, and most importantly, free. But Kelvin? He had been running. From the spiritualists whose rituals backfired. From the police who finally had enough evidence. And from the very demons he once fed. He had gone from living in a penthouse in Victoria Island to squatting in a dirty compound in Djibouti. His hair was overgrown, his skin scarred by strange rashes. The wealth he once enjoyed vanished like smoke. His supposed connection to the gods was broken. Until that night in the forest. Kelvin had kidnapped a teenage girl from a village in Ogun State and taken her deep into the bush, attempting one final ritual to restore his wealth. He didn't know that the girl had a tracker sewn into her scarf by her suspicious uncle, a local hunter. Within an hour, the police stormed the forest. Kelvin was caught red-handed, naked, chanting, with a knife in his hand and a bowl of cow blood beside him. When they dragged him into the van, he muttered one thing. "I told Baba it was F's soul they wanted. I told him." The news broke out like wildfire. Lagos big boy arrested for attempted ritual killing. F saw the news on her phone and froze. Her hands trembled, her breath caught in her throat. "Kelvin," she whispered. "You didn't stop." The court hearings began weeks later. Kelvin looked nothing like the charming man who once brought her roses and whispered promises. His eyes were sunken, lips dry, skin cracked from exposure and spiritual burns. The courtroom was packed on the day F testified. She stood strong in her native attire, an elegant sky blue lace gown, her head tie neatly wrapped. Her voice shook slightly as she began to speak, but she didn't stop. "I was not just his girlfriend. I was his intended sacrifice. He gave me to the devil in exchange for wealth. And I forgave him. But now, justice must be done for me, and for the others who never made it out." Her words pierced every soul in the room. Even the judge's gavel paused. At the end of the trial, the verdict was announced. Kelvin Iyegu is hereby sentenced to life imprisonment with hard labor for attempted murder, ritual conspiracy, and human trafficking. But that was not where his suffering ended. Kirikiri maximum prison was not for the faint-hearted. Kelvin quickly learned that his former wealth meant nothing behind concrete walls and rusted bars. But what truly tormented him weren't the inmates or the guards. It was the dreams. Every night, he was visited by the spirits of the girls he tried to use, especially one. F. She would stand at the end of his prison bed, her white gown soaked in blood, her eyes glowing in the dark, whispering, "You chose the devil. Now, let him feed you." He screamed in his sleep. He clawed at the walls. He refused food for days, convinced it was poisoned with spiritual vengeance. Other prisoners began avoiding him. Some said he muttered incantations in his sleep, others claimed he would speak in female voices, voices that didn't belong to him. One morning, they found him unconscious on the floor of his cell, surrounded by dead rats. His skin had strange red marks that looked like burnt ropes wrapped around his wrists. He didn't die. But he never spoke again. The prison declared him mentally unstable and moved him to a solitary confinement ward known as the Tomb. Back in Lagos, F continued her advocacy work. Her foundation had rescued 17 girls from ritual traps and abusive relationships. She was invited to speak at the African Union Conference on Women's Safety in Nairobi. And then, something unexpected happened. She met a man. A simple man. His name was Daniel, a lawyer who had worked on her case years ago but never introduced himself. He had admired her strength from a distance. When they met again during a women's rights seminar, they talked for hours. No diamonds. No designer clothes. Just deep conversations and truth. Daniel knew her scars, and she knew his quiet heart. In time, love blossomed again. When he proposed, F didn't cry. She smiled, placed her palm over her heart, and said, "You're the first man who made me feel seen, not used." One rainy night, just before her wedding, F had a dream. She stood in a forest. Kelvin was there, bound in chains, crawling, begging. "Help me," he pleaded. "Please, just say my name." F stepped back. "No," she said softly. "You buried my name for money. But now I've risen." She turned, walked into the light, and the chains around him burst into flame. When she woke up, the rain had stopped, and the sky outside was finally clear. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and follow me for more stories. Bye for now.